Now it's my pleasure to introduce our speaker today, Reverend Bonnie Russell.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'm going to try not to take up too much of your time. But like you said, I'm the Reverend Dr. Bonnie M. Russell, and I am a speaker, I'm an author, and I'm a teacher. And I write and I speak and I teach about the meaning of life. No kidding. I teach about the oneness of all things, the oneness of the human race, and how quantum physics and epigenetics have proven scientifically, with powerful microscopes and with thousands of case studies, that we are indeed our own creators. And as this fairly new information rolls out, I'm fascinated because the science is proving that we do indeed reap what we sow. Karma is not a fairy tale, and the law of attraction is exactly that. It is a law. And on many levels, we know this because we teach our children that fighting is wrong, that if you hit someone, there are consequences. Usually your video game gets taken away because a swift smack on the bottom is no longer acceptable. It's no longer considered good parenting. We as adults, we know that we're going to go to jail if we assault someone, or if we assault their property or steal the property. At a corporate level, when different departments can't get along, they call in mediators to help them work things out. And yet, we still send our best and our brightest across the seas, around the world, into war. There's a disconnect. When my good friends from the American Legion asked me to speak here today, I'm sure they thought I'd be talking about my personal experiences with loss from the wars of our nation. And I'm going to go there now. Unlike many, I have not personally lost a member of my family to war, but I have witnessed the effects that having seen lives lost causes. When the recruiters came to my town in 1985, I enlisted, and I served 8 years in the U.S. Navy during the Persian Gulf Wars, Desert Shield, and Desert Storm. And I worked on the newspaper, cutting and pasting when you actually had to cut and paste with glue and a razor blade. And I reported the stories of bombings and skirmishes that I saw. And I saw the faces of the men and the women when they returned home from Iraq, faces that would never be the same. My grandfather, my mother's father, Robert Carl Gray, served in the Korean War. Thank you for that. He was an identical twin, and I could always tell which one my grandpop was because he had smile lines and his brother had frown lines. He was always happy, and he loved to have his family around him. He didn't like to talk much about the war, but when it came up, his eyes would glaze over, and we would just watch him disappear. He would go back in time to that place where there was always a part of him deep in his soul, where he was with those men that he watched die in that land far away. Then one day he was diagnosed with a strange cancer, which he contracted as a result of some chemical that he was exposed to in Korea. And then, as he passed away, he was again an identical twin, as frown lines covered his face. In 1944, off the shore of Normandy Beach, my other grandfather, my father's father, Richard William Prestula, and his brother Joseph were radio men on a small aircraft, or rather a small watercraft, which means that they watched and they reported the unbelievable, seemingly endless bloodshed that occurred D-Day. It's because of his reporting that we were aware of the magnitude of that awful battle. They returned from war, but only in body. A huge part of them remained on that beach. My grandfather was never the same again, and he was mostly absent from my father's life. And when he was present, it was only in fleeting moments, and usually for discipline. His recovery was long and painful because of the things that he saw and could not forget. And so my father lost his father, even though he did return from war. And in 1920, as Steve said earlier, after World War II, This day of remembrance officially became known as Memorial Day, and the red poppy officially became the national emblem of remembrance because when they bloomed after that battle in Belgium, they looked just the same as that day in battle where the field was just covered in blood. And that is what inspired him to write that beautiful poem. So those of us who have served over the years could all tell similar stories. And this is what brings us here together today. We are bound together by the promise that we made to protect this land and its citizens. The losses belong to us all. They affect us all. We are one big family. We are all one. Politics, ancestry, and gender make no difference. They don't make any difference in the foxhole, and they don't make any difference today. And so just like we teach our children not to fight, we as adults don't get into fistfights to solve our differences, and corporations use their resources to find a way to get their different departments to get along. The time has come to bridge that gap between our civilized society and our nations who practice war. As below, so above. What's good for the few is good for the many, because we are our own creators. The greatest way to remember and honor those who have given all is to be the change that we wish to see in the world. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bonnie.